A man named Brock and his crew are chasing a whale. We don't know exactly why yet, but I doubt it's a whale watching tour.
I want a number 3 harpoon with the heaviest explosive charge she'll take.
Aye, aye, sir.
There he is, Mr. Brock! Hurry with that harpoon!
He's going after a whale in scuba gear. I was right, it's not a whale watching tour. It's a crazy guy with money.
He's coming after us!
Where's the harpoon? Fire!
A lot of divers like to roll into the water like that, but we're usually closer to it.
He tore away our rudder!
Who fired that cannon?
I thought you wanted him dead, sir.
Not that way! Hold your fire!
Not that way. Haven't you ever seen a Moby Dick movie? I shoot the harpoon into him, then he takes off running and drags me down to 1,000 feet where my body turns to mush. Are you getting all this?
Welcome to Sealab, Larry.
Good to see you again, Paul.
Somebody special, Hal?
Lawrence Cummings, probably the greatest expert on sea mammals in the world. He's going to check on the annual migration of blue whales south from the Arctic.
This is my son, Roger. He's practically a genius in his own right on the subject of whale sounds.
Doesn't he look happy to be here? A few seconds later, we find out why.
Roger's chair, Mr. Cummings.
We'll be good friends, won't we, Roger? Sure.
Happy little chatterbox, too. He can't walk. And he's really got a good pity party going about it. Bobby isn't about to let that continue.
Oh, you lose something, Bobby?
I thought Roger would be here.
It takes Roger a little time to get used to things and people.
Why don't you go find him?
Sure.
He's in our quarters. I shouldn't have let you talk me into this assignment, Paul.
Stop worrying about Roger. He'll make it.
He just won't come out of himself. Not around strangers.
Bobby doesn't know the definition of that word, stranger.
Bobby may have been the origin of that famous statement, "There are no strangers, only friends we haven't met yet."
Hello. Hello. I thought you'd be in the sonar room, listening for whales. I'd just be in the way. What's on this tape? Nothing.
Bobby, want to come collect some specimens with us?
You too, Roger. It's lots of fun.
No thanks. Me either.
Okay. See you later.
You wanted to go with them. Why didn't you? I like being here with you.
It's going to take Roger a little while to process that idea. He can't imagine why.
You know what krill is? Sure. Krill are tiny shrimp-like crustaceans. Right. One of the main food supplies for whales. I've got their sound on this.
If you ever get the chance to dive at night in Puget Sound, along with everything else you do, take a moment to turn your light off and appreciate the darkness. Then go like this. The little krill in the water become bioluminescent, and suddenly you're surrounded by tiny blue stars flitting all over the place. It's incredible. Roger has a collection of whale sounds and other underwater sounds that would make UCLA jealous. Bobby has an idea.
Why don't we build ourselves an underwater laboratory a few miles away from Sealab? We could pick up a million sounds. How would I get to it? By diving. I can swim, but I can't dive, or play baseball, or roller skate. Roller skate, no. Baseball, maybe. But dive, definitely yes.
Bobby is infectious. Suddenly, Roger is doing the book and theory portion of dive training while Bobby helps him prepare mentally for the water. If you've ever heard of the Wounded Warrior Project, one of their subcategories is making it possible for disabled veterans to scuba dive. Whether it means special webbed gloves to substitute for non-working legs or special breathing gear, whatever the person's issue might be, there is a way around it. It's a little close to my heart because a friend of mine is one of the local shop owners who participates. There are two things they can always use. First, of course, is good old American legal tender, which is to say dollars. But what they can do even more good with is equipment. If you have an old wetsuit or mask, it doesn't even have to be specifically dive gear. A wetsuit is a wetsuit. If you're a kayaker or surfer and you have an old one you're not using, look into donating it. It's not the right program for Roger, but he doesn't need a nationwide program. He has Bobby.
Now, you're sure you understand the theory part?
I think so.
You've got to be sure. Now, this is a computer line. It lets us constantly reuse the same breathing mixture. It's good for about 5 hours at this depth.
It always amazes me when this happens. Today we call it a rebreather, and it's on the cutting edge of scuba technology. I can't explain how it works because I don't have a clue. I've looked at it and it's way over my head. But it recycles the air you exhale, adds oxygen, scrubs out the CO2, slices, dices, makes thousands of julienne fries. And the last time I saw one that another friend of mine uses, I think I counted 311 gauges she had to keep track of. I wouldn't mind being able to stay under for 5 hours, but I'm only willing to do so much to achieve it.
The mask is like our eye underwater.
Now, don't be in too much of a hurry, Roger. It takes time to learn. But you can do it.
If you don't have enough time to do it right, then don't do it.
Roger is a natural. He said he can swim, and really, if you can swim, you can dive. Both are about propelling yourself through the water. The only real difference is when you're swimming, the air is right there. When you're diving, you take some with you.
Never enter the moon pool without going through pre-dive check.
Tank's full. Compass. Depth gauge. Watch. Diving knife.
At the beginning, never go out without an adult.
I understand. And even after you become an expert, never dive without a buddy.
Everyone watching is getting an excellent lesson in dive safety. When my wife and I took our basic training, they gave us the acronym BWARF, BWARF. It stands for BCD, weights, air, releases for things like dropping weights in an emergency, and final check. Or a lot of instructors say the F is for fun. And those checks can be really important because if your equipment goes wrong, the F might stand for something less pleasant like frelled.
Can you get any motion out of your legs at all, Roger?
Yeah, for my hips. Good. We'll put these flippers on. Do you think they'll do any good? Every little bit helps.
You won't believe how many little bits those help. When we lived in Boise, my family and I used to go to the downtown YMCA to swim. They had this really cool 15-foot deep end with a nice drop slide leading into it. We would take our fins, masks, and snorkels so we could do things like dive for coins on the bottom more easily. One evening I was over in the shallow end taking a rest when my kids called me over to where the drop slide was. A young lady had gone down it, but when she hit the water, she had her hands up like this. The water yanked her engagement ring right off her finger. A lifeguard standing there had no idea what to do. I asked for a brief description, then with my fins, I dove down to the bottom in less than 2 seconds. I started doing a grid search back and forth and found it pretty quickly. She was very happy, needless to say. My favorite reaction came from the lifeguard. This poor kid just kind of stood there stunned. Finally, he sort of muttered, thanks. I just tossed him my little salute that I do and went on my way. The point is, without my fins, I wouldn't have been able to do that. I would have used up my breath just getting down and wouldn't have had any time to search before I needed to come back up. Roger can get leg motion from his hips. You know something? That's exactly how they teach you to do it. Don't use your knees, use your whole leg. So Roger is already a few levels ahead of the average new diver.
Larry, come here.
I'll be finished here in a moment, Paul.
I think this is more important.
What's so important about a couple of kids diving?
See? It's just like flying.
Hold your body a little stiffer, Roger, and move your hands like this.
It can't be. It's Roger.
I do believe it is.
Paul, I said earlier I shouldn't have let you talk me into this assignment.
I never heard you.
But it's the best move I ever made in my life.
More precisely, the best move you ever made was introducing him to Bobby. Roger has found himself. Now about that lab that Bobby was talking about building.
All set?
We just finished, Bobby.
Up you come, Roger. That's my equipment. Why not? It's your lab. And that chair.
We had the shop make it especially for you, Roger.
Go ahead, Rog. Climb in.
How can I thank you?
By not getting into any trouble down here.
Hal, Ed, and Gail worked fast to get his stuff and install it. And that chair can take him anywhere in the room. He can control things with it. He's a mobile Captain Kirk. Later, Bobby is monitoring the sounds outside when he hears something that doesn't sound good.
Is that a whale? Yes, he's scared. Scared something awful. You think there's a killer whale after him? No, that would make him mad. What could scare a whale?
I'll give you a hint. It walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs in the afternoon, and 3 legs in the evening. It's the whale's most fearsome and irresponsible predator.
Sonar point's dead ahead. Come on. There he is.
Roger brought some tapes of happy and soothing whale sounds, but they aren't working. This whale is in serious distress. It'll take the boys a little bit to notice why.
A boat on the surface. Look at him. Wow. Something on that boat is after him. The diver's coming down. Roger, get back to the scooters. I'll try to stop that diver.
We have a good idea who the diver is, but the folks at Sealab haven't met him yet.
Uh-oh, he's upset. Roger, give me a hand. I will if I can reach you. Ready? Gotcha!
They haven't met him yet, but oh boy are they going to.
They're a couple of rotten kids, troublemakers.
Preventing a whale from being killed hardly calls for that description, Mr. Brock.
That's right. Justify their interference because they come from Sealab.
One of those boys is my grandson, Mr. Brock. But that won't get in the way of his punishment.
Good.
If punishment is called for.
I've hunted that blue whale for 6,000 miles, all the way from the Antarctic. And those 2 kids interfered with my life's goal.
This is a blue whale he's chasing. It's supposed to be the year 2020. Blue whales started being protected in the 60s, and as quick as an endangered species list was created, they were put on it. So it's been that way for over 50 years at this point. His accent pegs him as an American, so he should know that killing a blue whale could get him some serious prison time.
Why is killing a blue whale your goal in life?
Why did Hillary climb Mount Everest? Why did Livingston hunt for the source of the Nile? Because killing a blue whale in its own element has never been done. I want to be the first.
Hillary didn't kill Mount Everest, and Livingston didn't kill Lake Victoria. I can understand wanting to make your mark as the first to do something, but why does it have to be killing an endangered animal? Brock goes back to the chase, while Paul, Larry, and Captain Murphy aren't sure whether to punish the boys or praise them. I know my answer, but they're not my kids. I know that for sure because my kids are all girls. Brock is doing a grid search of his own. The boys can't pick up any whale sounds, but the way Brock is hanging around, they figure he must have. They head out and find the whale hiding on the bottom. Brock has stopped and dropped anchor so his engine noise doesn't interfere with what his instruments are picking up.
He's gotta go up for air soon. That'll be the end of him. If that Brock doesn't go away.
Why don't we make Brock go away?
Sure, but how?
We've got an awful lot of tapes. Let's decoy him out to Logan's Rocks.
Bobby will stay with the whale while Roger sets up the decoy. Sure enough, Brock is taking the bait. The whale pops up to take a breath. That's good because Bobby was giving it too much credit when he said it could stay down for an hour. The longest recorded time a blue whale has stayed down on one breath is about 35 minutes. But with fresh air in its lungs, it can take off and get far away from Brock. Speaking of whom,
Uh-oh. Looks like he's in trouble.
I'm not sure about the falling down when the rock crumbled. He should have been buoyant enough to stay where he was, but I've talked about some of the equipment issues in this show before. Right now, Roger isn't strong enough by himself to get Brock's foot unwedged. Bobby just got here to help.
It's no use. His foot's wedged too tight.
My harpoon over there. Get it.
Yeah, use it as a lever to move that rock that's pinning his foot.
Oh, if we shake up that rock, I might be able to pull loose.
That's dangerous.
Not as dangerous as running out of air. You see that crevasse? Put the charge in there, and it might open this crack here.
Or you could just use it like a pry bar on that rock and...
That did it!
He's free.
Never mind. His leg will need some attention. Good thing there's a convenient infirmary nearby.
You okay, Mr. Brock?
You mean, aside from feeling like I'm going to pass out?
In a few days, Mr. Brock, that leg will be as good as new.
Thank you, Doctor. And I certainly have a lot to thank you boys for.
They disagree. They have to confess that he was right. They're a couple of rotten kids.
We decoyed you to that area.
What are you talking about? I know whales when I hear them. Why,
You heard a tape.
I've got tapes of every kind of whale sound, but we didn't want you to find the blue.
You won't stop me. I'm going to hunt that blue whale down.
You can hunt it without killing it, can't you, Mr. Brock?
Nothing's gonna stop me from killing that whale.
It's not even about the whale. It's about being the first one to do something.
Well, nobody's ever photographed the mating dance of a whale.
I want to be the first. Nobody has ever photographed the mating dance of a whale?
Instead of going down in history as one of the men responsible for the extinction of the blue whale, you can be known as a man who helped preserve them.
Never thought of that. Photographing, I mean.
Sometimes when I talk about diving, people ask me if I spearfish. I say, no, I do my hunting with a camera.
We need men of your experience and dedication. Sealab will supply you with the proper cameras.
You know, Doctor, you just might have something there. Shoot a picture instead of a gun.
As long as he's the first, it's an idea he can go with. Roger is back at his console listening to the undersea world.
Wow! Listen!
Hey, what's causing all the merriment?
Yes, what are you tuned into?
Listen to this!
What's that?
A whale! Singing!
A singing whale?
We've known about whale songs for ages. Who forgot that part of Gail's education?
Sure, just listen.
I think he is singing.
And you really think it's your whale?
Who's to say it isn't? If you hope hard enough, anything can come true. You help it along with a little action.
This is more like it. There is genuine conflict here. Brock is determined to kill an endangered whale for what seems to me a really dumb reason. The boys are conservationists, Roger in particular, because the underwater world, and whales in particular, are his world. That was the case even before he learned to dive. He learned that he can do a lot more than he thought he could. All he needs is the right inspiration. For him, that inspiration is named Bobby. Brock learned that he can achieve fame without being destructive. And he was in genuine peril when he was stuck in those rocks because he was getting dangerously low on air. From start to finish, the episode held my interest. We had multiple layers of different kinds of conflict and resolution. Kids were smart enough to pick up on that and absorb the lessons. Lessons such as preserve endangered animals like whales. There are right and wrong ways to correct something that you think shouldn't be happening. If you did something that caused a problem for someone else, admit it and take the consequences. Physically unorthodox people can do a lot more than you might imagine. Be someone's inspiration. Be their Bobby. Be prepared for someone to show you a better way to do what you're doing and accept it. In the far distant future, blue whales can hold their breath twice as long as they can now. And finally, especially for Mr. Brock, the solution to your problem isn't always blowing something up. F might for stand. Roger brought blue whales can hold their breath. Oh, come on. You couldn't stay for 5 more seconds. You little twerp. I love you so much.